Question number 2, the Honourable Annette King on behalf of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. On behalf of the Honourable Phil Goff, to the Minister of Social Development. Since the Prime Minister said in October 2009 that, quote, "we are particularly concerned about high rates of youth unemployment," end quote, what has been the trend in youth unemployment?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, in October 2009 there were 19,444 18 to 24-year-olds on the unemployment benefit. This peaked in January 2010 to 23,545. In July 2011 there were 16,530. So since January 2010 this has fallen by 7,000 young people, which is pleasing. In December 2009, the HLFS unemployment rate for young people aged 15 to 24 years was 18.4% and now 17.4% in the last quarter. So under either definition, youth unemployment has actually been reducing.
The Honourable Annette King.
Speaker, has she sufficiently briefed the Prime Minister about the high rates of youth unemployment? Because he transferred a simple question about his own statement to her. Obviously, he doesn't feel sufficiently confident to ask the question himself.
Order. And I don't think the Speaker does need to get his head out of the sand. The last part of that question was totally out of order. It was totally out of order. I mean, I just invite the member to look at the relevant standing order that members are not meant to include statements of opinion in questions like that. But I'll invite the member to the first part of the question was answerable, whether she had briefed the Prime Minister, the Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, yes, of course, if the opposite members are going to put questions in my portfolio area, then I'm more than happy to answer them. And Mr Goff sort of scuttered out of the House a few minutes ago, but it's lovely to hear from that member.
Order. I'm on my feet. Now, one out-of-order part of a question should not provoke an out-of-order response from the Minister, but given that both were out of order, I'll leave the situation to lie there. But the Minister knows that that is totally out of order, but then so, I'm sure, did the questioner know the last part of the question asked was out of order. The point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Belated and after the fact now, Sir, but can I ask you to examine and to get back to us, possibly privately, indicating since when it has been out of order, to indicate that a question has been transferred when a minister doesn't want to answer it?
Order. Now, members are skating on thin ice here. The first part of that point of order was fine. The last part was totally out of order. To suggest that a minister may not want to answer a question is totally out of order. It is totally out of order to claim that in a point of order. So this exchange will stop, or there'll be some consequences. And I'll leave it at that. But I'm serious about it because points of order must not be abused like that. And I allow a lot of licence in questions being asked. There's been a couple of questions asked today that were not compliant with the standing orders, but I let them go because I don't want to be intervening too often. But there is a limit to what can be allowed by way of question. That's where I'm going to leave it. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
I think I would like to reiterate my request, Mr Speaker. The question very carefully did not go to questions of reasons for the Prime Minister doing it, other than knowledge.
Order. The question did go to reasons. The question did go to alleged a reason for the question being transferred, and that is not in order. And I just invite the member to look at the relevant standing order 300, and forgive me for not remembering it off the top of my head, 371. And that is simply not in order. 371 1B, if the member wants to look at the relevant standing order. The Honourable Annette King, supplementary question.
Can she confirm that the government declared that the New Zealand recession was officially over on the 31st of March 2009? And if the recession was over, what has caused youth unemployment to grow by 8.5% or 7,000 since that announcement?
The point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallett.
Mr Speaker, I'd just like to indicate to you that it appears in my copy of standing orders to be no 371(1)(e). It stops at C.
B, I said. The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, what we have seen is those in the age group of 15 to 19 years still feeling the lags of the recession. They are the last to get into a job and often the first to go off, unfortunately. They have low skills, hence why we are putting more emphasis on making sure that they have employment and training opportunities. We want to see them getting sustainable jobs, hence why we made the announcements we did on Sunday to put an investment in that area.
The Honourable Annette King.
Question, Mr Speaker. Has she told the Prime Minister that long-term youth unemployment has trebled for young people between the ages of 15 and 19 under his watch? And why has the urgency about this huge waste of young life only become a priority 3 months out from an election?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, this government has invested a huge amount of money into 18 to 24-year-olds in particular and making sure that we give them sort of work opportunities, and we have seen successes with that. For example, in January 2010, we had more than 23,000 on the unemployment benefit, now down to closer to 16,000. That's 7,000 off the unemployment benefit. Now we do need to look at that transition from school into further education and training, and that is certainly what this government is concentrating on with its announcements on Sunday.
The Honourable Annette King.
Speaker, does she agree with commentators who have said that the number of young people not in education, training or employment could now fill Eden Park and the situation has reached crisis point? If so, why has the government announced a policy at the weekend for only 1,600 of the 58,000?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, the member's actually incorrect, so it's not 1,600, it is more like the sort of 13,000 that are in that 16 and 17-year-old age group. Actually it is, so it's those that are transitioning as well in the youth transition, and it is also those that are on the independent youth benefit. So the members need to actually go back and look at the actual announcements that were made. They are the ones that are going to get older and keep having unsuccessful lives and careers unless we do something at that age group. So it is most definitely the age group to concentrate most on.
Question number 3, Pesitar Sam Lord. Oh, I beg your pardon. Is this a supplementary question?
Mr.
I beg your
Speaker.
pardon. Hilary Calvert. Now, order. There was no way I could hear the member call for the supplementary because of the interjections. And it's no use pointing the finger across the House because they started on my left. Admittedly, they were added to. I was watching very carefully. There'll be no more argument about that. Hilary Calvert, supplementary question.
Mr Speaker, supplementary to the Minister. Does she believe that increasing the minimum wage for 16 and 17-year-old people by 33% would increase youth unemployment? If not, why not?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, in all fairness, I've seen a number of different reports, some saying exactly that and others saying that it's not having effect, so it would be fair to say that there's a middle ground there and that the jury's still out.
Hilary Calvert.
How much would increasing the minimum wage by 33% raise unemployment by dozens or hundreds?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, I'm afraid I don't have that kind of analysis in front of me.
Hilary Calvert.
Mr Speaker, does she then accept that the abolition of youth rates, which increased the minimum wage of young people by 33%, contributed to the youth unemployment rate skyrocketing to an all-time high of 27.6%, nearly double what it was when the rate was abolished?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, what I do have concerns about is the education and training level of some of those 16 and 17-year-olds, that they are leaving school too early. They haven't even got NCEA level 2, so it's very difficult for them to even get into the workforce. And then when they are, they're often the first to drop out when we see the kind of global recession that we've seen of late. So those are where this government's concerns are. That's where we're putting our investment, and I think that's a great thing.
Point of order, the Honourable John Biscoe.
Look, the Minister was asked a very specific question, and while she expressed her concern about education, she was specifically asked if she believed the abolition of youth rates contributed to the rise in unemployment, and she avoided that question.
No, order that last part. Well, I'd invite Hilary Calvert to repeat a question because it seemed that it wasn't actually answered at all. Hilary Calvert may repeat a question.
Mr Speaker, does she then accept that the abolition of youth rates, which increased the minimum wage for young people by 33%, contributed to the youth unemployment rate skyrocketing to an all-time high of 27.6%, nearly double what it was when the rate was abolished?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, it's possible, but I actually think a lack of education and training and being left on the scrap heap from many years of what we saw from the opposition of not taking attention to that group of young people has had more of an effect.